Right. So last time we had read these two paragraphs, wherein Sri Aurobindo explains the necessity of the concept of multiplicity of souls in the Sankhya philosophy. Basically, he was building the argument and he continues from there. So, who would like to read? Arora ji, would you like to read the new paragraph today? Madan Gopal ji? No response. Sarita, am I audible?
Yes, I can.
Please read, Sarita.
The Gita starts from this analysis and seems at first, even its setting forth of yoga, to accept it almost wholly. It accepts Prakriti and her three gunas and 24 principles, accepts the attribution of all action to the Prakriti and the passivity of the Purusha, accepts the multiplicity of conscious beings in the cosmos, accepts the dissolution of the identifying ego sense, the discriminating action of the intelligent will, and the transcendence of the action of the three modes of energy as a means of liberation. The yoga which Arjun is asked to practice from the outset is yoga by the buddhi, the intelligent will. But there is one deviation of capital importance. The Purusha is regarded as one, not many, for the free, immaterial, immobile, eternal, immutable self of the Gita. But for one detail is a Vedantic description of the eternal, passive, immobile, immutable Purusha of the Sankhyas. But the capital difference is that there is one and not many. This brings in the whole difficulty which the Sankhya multiplicity avoids and necessitates a quite different solution. This the Gita provides by bringing into its Vedantic Sankhya the ideas and principles of Vedantic Yoga.
Yeah. For one, this is a small paragraph, and since they are so intimately connected, I would request ये श्वेता है कॉल पे? Is it Shweta?
Yes, Priya.
Shweta, would you like to read the second one, the first important new element?
Sure, Priya.
Please. Shweta?
Yes. I need to zoom in.
Acha.
Not able to see.
The first important new element, this one.
The first important new element we find is in the conception of Purusha itself. Prakriti conducts her activities for the pleasure of Purusha. But how is that pleasure determined? In the strict Sankhya analysis, it can only be by a passive consent of the silent witness. Passively, the witness consents to the action of the intelligent will and the ego sense. Passively, he consents to the recoil of that will from the ego sense. He is witness, source of the consent, by reflection, upholder of the work of nature, Sakshi. Anumanta,
Bharta.
Bharta, but nothing more. But the Purusha of the Gita is also the Lord of nature. He is Ishvara. If the operation of the intelligent will belongs to nature, the origination and power of the will proceed from the conscious soul. He is the Lord of nature. If the act of intelligence of the will is the act of Prakriti, the source and light of the intelligence are actively contributed by the Purusha. He is not only the witness, but the Lord and knower, master of knowledge and will, Jnata Ishvara. He is the supreme cause of the action of Prakriti, the supreme cause of its withdrawal from action. In the Sankhya analysis, Purusha and Prakriti in their dualism are the cause of the cosmos. In this synthetic Sankhya, Purusha, by his Prakriti, is the cause of the cosmos. We see at once how far we have traveled from the rigid purism of the traditional analysis.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you, Sarita. Yeah. Okay. The Gita starts from this analysis. Analysis basically the vibhajan, the enumeration of the, in the Sankhya way, Purusha, Prakriti, all these 24 principles in the Prakriti, etc. And seems at first, even in its setting forth of yoga, to accept it almost wholly. Yoga, as we understand, uh, there are three systems which are being synthesized in the Gita: Yoga, Sankhya, and Vedanta. So far, what we have covered in this chapter mostly is dealing with the pure Sankhya side of things, right? It accepts Prakriti and her three gunas and 24 principles. So the Gita accepts this fully. Throughout the book, we find this pretty much from the second chapter, even up till the 18th chapter. Almost in every chapter, वैसे तो मतलब this kind of analysis is not very useful, but almost in every chapter, there is a mention of the Trigunatmika Prakriti, Traigunyamayi Maya, etc., etc. So much so that even in the 18th chapter, the last and final one with 78 verses, almost 20 to 25 verses, they are there for the gunas, 7 qualities, 7 into 3, 21. So clearly, 21 verses straight away, which tell, this will be like this in tamas, this will be like this in rajas, like this in sattva. Just trying to remember. Karma, karta, many things like this. Buddhi, several things. 7 of them in the 18th chapter, like that. Before that, in the what should I say, the 17th, about the food habits. Then in the 14th, where the basic definition of the gunas is there. So basically, the gunas thing is shot through the entire Bhagavad Gita. Okay, this much has to be. As far as gunas is concerned, Gita is one of the best texts for getting a knowledge on the gunas, right? Yeah. Okay. And 24 principles. We know what they are. One or two people have joined today first time. So, Mahabhutanyahankaro buddhiravyaktam cha indriyani dashaikam cha panchachendriya gocharaha. 13.6 of the Gita, where these 24 principles are mentioned. As we covered last time also, just a recap. 11 of them, the objective side, that is the avyakt prakriti, unmanifest energy. 5 gyanendriya, senses of perception. 5 karmendriya, senses of action. Sorry. Objective is objective 1 is the avyakta prakriti, what is called avyakta, unmanifest energy. 5 is the pancha mahabhutani, the elements. That is fire, water, air, ether, and what that one, the fifth one, whatever it is. क्या है मतलब? And the 5 are the tanmatra, shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha, right? Then the 13 are the subjective principles, namely ahankara. In order, if you want to say, then mahat, ahankara, buddhi, manas, the 5 jnanendriyas, and the 5 karmendriyas, right? Buddhi and mahat is the same. Accepts the attribution of all action to the prakriti. Yeah. That's why the Gita says, Prakritehe kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvashah. Verse 3.27, we have mentioned it almost in every class. Prakritehe kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvashah. All the karmas are being done by the Prakriti through her gunas. Okay? Gunaihi basically is a Tritiya Ekvachan for that. Tritiya Ekvachan or Tritiya Bahuvachan, right? Accepts the attribution of all action in the Prakriti and the passivity of the Purusha. This passivity is mentioned in so many verses in the 3rd chapter, then again in the 6th chapter. मैंने last time WhatsApp group पे डाला था, right? Okay, doing all this, kurvan napi na lipyate. This is in short. Naiva kinchit karomi. न एव किंचित करोमि, आई डू नॉट डू एनीथिंग. एक ये है. एक कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते. कुर्वन्नपि के पहले पूरा सारा वो ऑल द एक्टिविटीज ऑफ द सेंसेस आर लिस्टेड. इवन डूइंग कुर्वन अपि न लिप्यते, इट इज नॉट टेंटेड, राइट? सो as the occasion arises, I'll share those verses again after the call, right? Accepts the attribution of all action to the Prakriti and the passivity of the Purusha. Accepts the multiplicity of conscious beings in the cosmos. Accepts the dissolution of the identifying ego sense, right? So as for the multiplicity of conscious beings in the cosmos, exact verse to ढूंढना ऐसे मुश्किल है, but yeah, the word jiva is there, which means individual. And in the 9th chapter it shows all the beings coming out. वो as such एक verse नहीं है कि so many conscious beings multiple like that, but it is obvious from the teaching of the Gita that it believes in the multiplicity of conscious beings.
And
right?
he says that Mamai Valava Jiva Loke.
हाँ, ममई वामशो जीवलोके, बट उसमें वर्ड जीवा है ना, तो इट डजंट से मल्टीपल, उसमें बहुवचन नहीं आ रहा है. दैट्स व्हाट आई मीन. Mamaivamsho Jivaloke Jivabhutah Sanatanah simply means it is verily an eternal portion of me that becomes a Jiva in the world of Jivas. 1 minute. Mamaivamsho Jivaloke Jivabhutah Sanatanah. हाँ, वो जीवलोके है, तो जीवलोके बाय इटसेल्फ उतना डिटेल में संस्कृत में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. इट वोंट बी अप्रिशिएटेड बाय मोस्ट पीपल उतना, बट बेसिकली द आइडिया इज देयर. एंड आई मीन अगेन बहुनी जीव इस तरह से नहीं आता है कोई वर्स ऐसा, बट इट इज क्लियर फ्रॉम द 9th चैप्टर, उसके पहले भी, कि इट इज स्पीकिंग ऑफ मल्टीप्लिसिटी ऑफ कॉन्शियस बीइंग्स. मैं ढूंढूंगा अगर एग्जैक्ट कोई ऐसा वर्स मिल जाएगा, रेलेवेंट वर्स मिल जाएगा, आई शेयर इट. Right now it's not coming to mind. Okay. Accepts the dissolution of the identifying ego sense. This is there very clearly. Verse number 2.70. Nir ahankara. I think this is the first time that the Gita mentions it. Nirmamo nir ahankara sa shantim adhigacchati. So he who is free from the sense of I, nirmama. From the sense of mine. Mama means mine. And nir ahankara. Nir ahankara means from the sense of I. Sa shantim adhigacchati. Such a person comes to peace. 71, sorry, not 70. 2.71. Okay. So, yeah. Accepts the multiplicity of conscious beings in the cosmos. Accepts the dissolution of the identifying ego sense. Again, 3.27 में गीता क्या कहती है? अहंकार विमूढ़ात्मा कर्ता अहम इति मन्यते. So the ahankara is regarded as a delusion. And what does Arjuna say at the end? When Krishna asks him, have you understood what I have told you? What does he say? Nashto moha. मेरा जो मोह है वो नष्ट हो गया. नष्टो मोहा स्मृतिर लब्धा त्वत्प्रसादान् मयाच्युत स्थितोस्मि गत संदेहः करिष्ये वचनम तव. Yeah, this is in 18th chapter, verse number 73. Nashto moha. That moha is gone. वो अहंकार खत्म हो गया. Again in 18.17. इतना मुझे actually references देने की जरूरत नहीं है, but I mean since it is one of the most fundamental points in all Adhyatma, the removal of ahankara, इसीलिए perhaps I am being driven to say it. Yes, 18.17 में यस्य नाहंकृतो भावो बुद्धिर यस्य न लिप्यते हत्वापि स इमान लोकान न हन्ति न निबध्यते. He who does not have the ahankrita bhava. How are you going to do this massive destruction if you are having the ahankara bhava, ahamkrita bhava? He who does not have this ahankrita bhava and buddhir yasya na lipyate, whose buddhi, whose intelligence is not tainted as such by this idea of ahankara, hatva pisa iman loka na hanti na nibadhyate. Even though you are killing all these people, na hanti na nibadhyate. Neither you are killing nor will you become bound. Of course, this is the most extreme example given in the Gita, in the context of the Gita. All action basically. वो ईशा के बिगिनिंग में भी आता ना, ईशा उपनिषद के बिगिनिंग में कुर्वन्नेवेह कर्माणि जिजी विशेषतम समाह एवं त्वयि नान्यथेतोसि न कर्म लिप्यते नरे. Of course, there it is just 18 verses and it is not explained. In the Gita, that idea is explained in much more detail, right? न कर्म लिप्यते. This is like अगर एटलीस्ट गीता के इनिशियल पार्ट की जो टीचिंग ले कर्म योगा की, दिस इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग कि कर्म का करते हुए भी while engaging in action, how to not get lipta by the actions. Third chapter में आते again and again. I need not elaborate further on this. Okay, the discriminating action of the intelligent will, which happens when, in the language of the Gita, when the sattva guna arises. So initially the Gita wants us to increase the sattva guna before jumping into the gunatita condition. Okay. And the transcendence of the action of the three modes of energy as the means of liberation. The dissolution of the identifying ego sense, the discriminating action of the intelligent will, and the transcendence, going beyond, of the action of the three modes of energy as the means of liberation. This transcendence के लिए गीता में the word is, transcendence of gunas के लिए the word is gunatita. Okay. As the means of liberation. Right. The yoga which Arjuna is asked to practice from the outset, from verse number 2.11. We are at 2.39. We have covered till there. Esha te bihita sankhye बुद्धिर योगे त्विमाम शृणु. अब तक तुमने ये जो मैंने बताया है, तुमने इसको बुद्धि योग में सुना है. एषा ते विहिता सांख्ये बुद्धिर योगे त्विमाम शृणु बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्म बंधम प्रहास्यसि. बुद्धि के साथ युक्त होने से, by identifying your consciousness with this immutable self, how you will get free from the karma bandhanas, etc. Okay, 2.39. As far as the Gita is concerned, that is where we are in our study. Okay, the yoga which Arjuna is asked to practice from the outset is yoga by the buddhi. Again, if I may say here, buddhi yoga, this word comes again in the 10th chapter, wherein he says that when my devotees, they talk about me, they discuss about me. Kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti charamanti ta tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam, devotion vagara etc. Dadami buddhi yogam. So, one common thing which we find in all Indians, कि अगर मतलब 3-4 डिवोटीज मिल जाएंगे, व्हाट दे स्टार्ट डूइंग, श्री अरविंदो के हुए, किसी के भी हुए, दे स्टार्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट द गुरु, अबाउट द लॉर्ड, अबाउट द डिवाइन, भगवत चर्चा एक्सेट्रा। उसका उसमें पूरा प्रोसेस बताया हुआ है कि बाय दिस म्यूचुअली एनलाइटनिंग ईच अदर, ठीक है, बाय दिस मैनिफेस्टेशन ऑफ भक्ति, by their worshipping me etc, what happens, they reach a certain state where I can give them the buddhi yoga, ददामि बुद्धि योगम, मैं उनकी बुद्धि को अपने साथ जोड़ देता हूं। सो या द योगा विच अर्जुन हैज आस्क्ड टू, बट ये बहुत बाद में है, दिस इज 10.8 to 10.11 में टुवर्ड्स द एंड आता है, 10.10 या 11 में आता है, ठीक है। द योगा विच अर्जुन हैज आस्क्ड टू प्रैक्टिस फ्रॉम द आउटसाइड इज योगा बाय द बुद्धि। How is the buddhi defined? As two things, intelligence and will, both of them. Okay? It is at once intelligence and will. But there is one deviation of capital importance. The Purusha is regarded as one, not many. Yeah. The Purusha is regarded as one, not many. For the free, immaterial, immobile. For this, the word in the Gita is akshara. Immutable के लिए है actually. Immobile, achalam, या achalam word is also there in 2.11 to 2.30, कहीं पे वो आता है. Eternal, nityah, sanatanah, shashvatah. These three words are there for eternal, having their different shade of meaning, but it is there. 2.20 if we see, न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतः अयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे। For the free, immaterial, immobile, eternal, immutable.
I get a little confused in this, Anmol.
हाँ बताइए।
Eternal is Shashwat. ये
I'll tell
immaterial,
you.
immobile and immutable.
इममटीरियल से मतलब है कि उसके अंदर मैटर एज वी नो इट, उसके अंदर वो वाला एलिमेंट नहीं है। सो इन द ईशा उपनिषद इट्स कॉल्ड अस्नाविरम, विदाउट एनी साइन्यूज। साइन्यूज माने स्नायु बोलते हैं ना, नसनाड़ियों वगैरह को, तो उसमें अस्नाविरम लाइक दैट। तो उसके अंदर कोई ये मटेरियल एस्पेक्ट नहीं है। गीता में इममटीरियल वर्ड नहीं है, मुझे तो याद नहीं आ रहा, अभौतिक या ऐसा कोई शब्द गीता में डजंट कम टू माय मेमोरी। फ्री के लिए मुक्तो, मुक्तः अपि स, वो मुक्ता मुक्ता वर्ड आता है, बट वो सेल्फ के एडजेक्टिव के रूप में नहीं आता, बट इट इज ऑब्वियस दैट इट इज फ्री लाइक दैट। इमोबाइल के लिए अचलम, अचलो यम सनातन, अगेन देखना पड़ेगा कौन से में है, बट इट इज देयर वेरी क्लियरली, अचल, दैट इज द वर्ड फॉर इमोबाइल। इटर्नल के लिए द थ्री वर्ड्स आई टेल, उनमें जो शेड ऑफ डिफरेंस मतलब मुझे संपत जी ने सिखाया था यहाँ पे एंड ऑल दैट। सो नित्य मीन्स कॉन्स्टेंट, सो नित्य कर्म भी बोलते हैं, राइट, बट नित्य बेसिकली मीन्स कॉन्स्टेंट, नित्य स्मरण, constantly remembering the divine. You don't say Shashvat Smaran, you don't say Sanatan Smaran. Okay, you say Nitya Smaran. So that is that shade of meaning. Okay. दूसरा जो है Sanatan. Sanatan is translated normally as eternal. Okay, that which is eternal, which is forever. Okay.
Yeah.
Shashvata Sri Aurobindo translates as sempiternal. This word comes in the Isha Upanishad also, verse number 8. Shashvatibhyah samabhyah naam se. And sempiternal again is broken up into two words, semper, S-E-M-P-E-R, plus eternus, A-E-T-E-R-N-U-S. Semper means always, eternus means so always eternal. Always eternal would then be that it's totally beyond time. It's not as if it is always there. वो है ही beyond time. उसको टाइम वाइम की कोई संज्ञा उसके ऊपर लागू ही नहीं हो सकती है. Probably in that sense. मतलब this is at least my understanding. Nitya meaning more to do with constant and daily. Of course, eternal also it means that way. Perennially, like that, right? Next, wo Sanatana, eternal, always there. And Shashvata, matlab sempiternal, beyond time, always eternal, always eternal. Matlab something which has never experienced anything except eternity. It is something which has never experienced time, like that. Okay? Yeah. So,
Anmol bhai, would immaterial be meaning avikaryoyam?
नहीं नहीं
अभी
नहीं
नहीं।
नहीं नहीं नहीं। विकार के लिए वो अविकार्योयम वर्ड आएगा आगे वाले उसमें। विकार मीन्स अ डिफॉर्मेशन।
मटेरियल होता है तो उसमें ही
That is
डिफॉर्मेशन।
clear. That is, I agree with you. You can take
हाँ।
it as a substitute. I don't disagree or mind that way. But विकार generally, विकार बोलते हैं कोई भी एक deformation आया, that is called विकार. Like अहंकार is a विकार that way.
हाँ, ओके ओके।
अविकार्य वर्ड आएगा इसमें आगे जाकर के,
हम्म।
तो उससे प्रॉब्ली क्लियर हो जाएगा. हाँ, so where were we? Yeah. It's very, very deep and profound. I don't know, कितना भी धीरे पढ़ लो, still you feel कि you're still reading it too fast. I'll just read this again. But there is one deviation of capital importance. The Purusha is regarded as one, not many, for the free. This, what is being talked about, these 5 adjectives, this is all us in our true self. इसका अध्यारोप हमें हमारे ऊपर करना है. This is ज्ञान योगा. I am essentially free, immaterial, immobile, immutable, eternal. For the free, immaterial, immobile, eternal, immutable self of the Gita. Self के लिए the obvious word is Atman, right? But for one detail is a Vedantic description of the eternal, passive, immobile, immutable Purusha of the Sankhyas. I think that one detail is that oneness and multiplicity. But for one detail is a Vedantic description. Vedantic because in the Gita, जो है, Gita is a Vedantic scripture of the eternal, passive, immobile, immutable Purusha of the Sankhya's. But the capital difference is that there is one and not many. तत्र को मोहः कः शोक एकत्वम अनुपश्यतः. Second half of verse number 7 of the Isha Upanishad. कि how can there be moha, delusion or attachment, and how can there be shoka, grief, if you see the oneness everywhere? You can flip it around and say to yourself, unless that oneness is seen, you can never be free from shoka and moha. Sri Aurobindo goes so far as to say on the last page of Savitri, page 724, to feel love and oneness is to live. In other words, if you are missing yourself from that consciousness of oneness, you are, from the spiritual point of view, you are dead. Same thing in the Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, when it speaks of, I think, the buddhi, कि the sattvic buddhi, buddhi or jnana, one of those two, is that which sees everything as one. The rajasic is that which नानात्व जिसमें दिखता है, जिसकी वजह से दिखता है, that is the rajasic. But the sattvic बुद्धि और ज्ञान मुझे ठीक से याद नहीं आ रहा है अभी, but one of those two. That is that which sees everything as one. I can actually, so since it's an important verse, I'll try to just find it out here. Give me a second. Hmm. Hmm. बुद्धि, I think बुद्धि only, अभी मिल नहीं रहा है. Yeah, I'll share it later on. But basically, that part of our intelligent being which sees oneness, that is sattvic. It is the rajoguna which sees everything as, उसकी वजह से we see the nanatva, the multiplicity. The capital difference is that there is one and not many. This brings in the whole difficulty which the Sankhya multiplicity avoids. Yeah. And necessitates a quite different solution. This the Gita provides by bringing, I found that verse, sorry. सर्वभूतेषु येन एकम भावम अव्ययम ईक्षते अविभक्तम विभक्तेषु तज्ज्ञानम विद्धि सात्विकम. Verse 18.20. Sarvabhuteshu, mane in all beings, yena ekam. Yena means by which. Ekam means one. Bhavam avyayam ikshate. Bhavam means becoming or sense basically. Avyaya means imperishable. When that one imperishable being or becoming is seen in all beings, Sarvabhuteshu. Shashti Bahuvachan. Sarvabhuteshu yenaikam bhavam avyayam ikshate. Avibhaktam vibhakteshu tad jnanam viddhi satvikam. Know that knowledge to be sattvic. So, all the knowledge that we get, information के नाम पे mostly यहाँ वहाँ से ये सीख लिया वो सीख लिया etc etc. But if the thinking part of the personality is not established in oneness, then it's not the real thing. वो एकत्व
Anmol
का
bhai,
sense, that sense of oneness has to be deeply imbued. Yes, sir.
Anmol bhai, this verse that you've just translated, 18:20.
Want me to show it on the screen?
Yeah, if you show it on screen, this categorically says that in the gunas itself, in Prakriti itself, this wisdom, that there is only oneness which is the source of everything. If this itself is not understood, we are evolving towards come to a state of Trigunatit. But I'm saying that here it's categorically saying that if Gyan you talk about, wisdom you talk about, if you're not living in this reality that there is only oneness,
yes,
तो अभी तो सत्वा में ही आप immerse नहीं हुए हैं.
Exactly.
What this shows is that, my God, I mean, if at the Prakriti level, this verse at 18, it comes in the 18th chapter.
18th chapter, verse number 20.
You're living, that means that a person who's truly sattvic and who's established in sattva is living constantly every second, every minute with this thought that whatever engagement is happening, my Lord, you are the source behind it. Am I right?
Yes, yes. So this is the verse here. Sarva bhuteshu ye naikam bhavam avyayam ikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tajnanam viddhi sattvikam. Translation. That by which one imperishable being is seen in all becoming, one indivisible whole in all these divisions. Know thou that knowledge as sattvic.
So again, back to my point that if you look at it, the fact that this very fundamental truth, existence of oneness behind everything, even this, if it's established in the mind, in the intellect,
It's a great
that
thing.
is the starting point for an evolution to bigger things. अब आपने ये स्टेप ही अगर नहीं लिया तो आगे कैसे जाओगे? आपको हर engagement में your awareness should be, my Lord, it's you behind it. My Lord, it's you behind it. My Lord, it's you behind. If you are not in that rhythm itself,
I may actually correlate here like what we study in school and all that. कि जैसे physics में बताते हैं कि Einstein's dream was to bring this unified field theory. कि all this knowledge, all these forces and fields, I should be able to unite in one force and field like that. But he was not able to do it. Again, जैसे लास्ट टाइम एग्जांपल दिया था E = mc स्क्वायर का, वो सांख्या में हजारों साल से था. सो सिमिलरली दिस काइंड ऑफ यूनिफाइड फील्ड थ्योरी वगैरह वो वेदांत में हजारों साल से है, वो गीता में 5000 साल से है, और उसके भी पहले उपनिषद में बोलता है एकम सद विप्रा बहुधा वदंती, द ट्रुथ इज वन, द सेजेस कॉल इट बाय डिफरेंट नेम्स. तो एसेंशियली वही द डेप्थ एंड पावर ऑफ इंडियन विजडम.
And Anmol bhai, the reason why this is very important, because right here, this awareness and this complete reality of living in this guna itself makes Sankhya be different, because here it's saying that these two completely parallel tracks of Purusha and Prakriti behind these two there is only that oneness eternal.
Yeah.
So here,
For the
whereas
Vedanta, they are not parallel tracks. It's for the Sankhya that they are parallel.
that's what
अभी
I'm
से वो-
saying, that this is completely there itself. There is clarity that whatever we read from Sankhya till now, because Sankhya says that these are two parallel which never meet.
Yeah.
There's a separate Purusha and a separate Prakriti.
Yeah.
But in this verse, it's saying that if you've understood the sattvic, the quality of sattva, sattva means behind everything there's only one.
Exactly.
This is what you read in this 18.
Very well said. Very well
है
said.
ना?
Very
तो
well said.
यहीं पे आपने उसको अलग discern. If you are listening, then the intellect saying that sattva itself is telling you that everything has only one source, and therefore this concept of what we are moving towards Vedanta, which he is building up now, distinguishes you from Sankhya, because Sankhya says there are two. It never
Correct.
comes to this one.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Right. Thank you.
Very
Because
well.
this I
Very
thought
well
was
put.
beautiful that you bought this. I'm so
Very-
happy that
नहीं
we
नहीं,
got this verse.
somehow it was slipping my mind, but I was not being allowed to move ahead. वो अंदर से आ रहा था कि इसको वर्स को बोलना ही बोलना है. It's very important here. Yeah. So yeah, but the capital difference is that there is one and not many. This brings in the whole difficulty, which the Sankhya multiplicity avoids and necessitates a quite different solution. This the Gita provides by bringing into its Vedantic Sankhya. Vedantic Sankhya, the ideas and principles of Vedantic Yoga. ठीक है? Now, as such a sentence अभी नहीं समझ में आएगा. What does he mean by Vedantic Yoga? When you read the next paragraph, you understand. Basically, yoga, as I had said earlier, in the yoga system, the highest word is Ishvara. So basically, by bringing in that element of Ishvara, yoga word से यहाँ समझना चाहिए हमको Ishvara. In the yoga system, the aim or the highest thing is what is called Ishvara. In Sankhya, it is Purusha. In pure Vedanta, जो गीता का वेदांत है, उसके अंदर पुरुषोत्तमा is the highest word. पुरुषोत्तमा is the highest word. But normally जिसको वेदांत मान के चलते हैं, which is the Upanishads, उनके अंदर the highest word is Brahma. Like that. गीता का जो वेदांत है, it is a synthesis of Vedanta, Sankhya and Yoga. In the Upanishads, which is the normally अगर आप किसी से बोलें कि what is Vedanta, they will say Upanishads. Like that. So in that way in the Vedanta, the main word is Brahma. And even उसमें मैं नहीं जा रहा वो ब्रह्मवाद वगैरह में और उसके reconciliation में.
So is Brahma and Purushottama the same, we can say?
नहीं, they are not.
The
In the
Brahma
last
is
verse
above
of the
Purushottama.
in the last verse of the no, they are not.
No, Brahma
in the
is
language of the Gita
above
is
Purushottama.
yes, Purushottama is higher than Brahma. In
Oh,
verse number
Purushottama is higher than Brahma.
yes, I'll tell you the verse number. उससे ज्यादा क्लियर वर्स तो गीता में हो ही नहीं सकता इस पॉइंट के लिए. I have had ब्रह्मणो हि प्रतिष्ठाहम verse number chapter number 14 last verse verse number 27. ब्रह्मणो हि प्रतिष्ठाहम, ब्रह्म की प्रतिष्ठा मैं हूं ही says. अगर जो जिसकी प्रतिष्ठा होगा वो तो उससे हायर ही होगा ना. I'm just showing the verse on screen since you have raised the point. Yeah. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritas. It's a very beautiful and powerful verse worth memorizing. Brahmano hi pratishtaham amritasya vyayasya cha shashvatasya cha dharmasya sukhasya ikantikasya cha. Translation: I the Purushottama. अभी तक ये वर्ड आया नहीं है, वर्ड 15th चैप्टर में आता है, बट वो एंटिसिपेट करके यहाँ वर्ड लिख दिया है. I the Purushottama am the foundation of the silent Brahman and of immortality and imperishable spiritual existence and of the eternal dharma and of an utter bliss of happiness. ब्रह्मा गीता में बेसिकली वो साइलेंस की स्टेट को बोलते हैं. ब्रह्मा इन द गीता इज बेसिकली द अक्षर पुरुष बेसिकली. और अक्षरा और क्षरा इन दोनों के बियॉन्ड अन्य 15th चैप्टर में अगर आप देखें तो द्वाविमौ पुरुषौ लोके क्षरश्चाक्षर एव च क्षरः सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थोक्षर उच्यते उत्तमः पुरुषस्तु अन्यः. इनसे उत्तमः पुरुषस्तु अन्यः परमात्मे इति च उदाहृतः. उसको परमात्मा भी कहते हैं. उदाहृत उदाहरण शब्द उसी से आता है. परमात्मेति चा उदाहरतः यो लोकत्रयमाविश्य बिभर्ति अव्यय ईश्वरः, फिर उसके लिए वहां ईश्वर वर्ड होता है. बट आई गेस दिस मेक्स इट क्लियर. डज इट सरिता?
एक्चुअली मेरे को वही वर्स जो है, आई वाज टेलिंग यू द शर एंड अक्षरा, वही थोड़ा सा क्लियर करना था.
वो तो आएगा, कोर्स में आएगा. अभी उसमें चले जाएंगे तो हमारा फ्लो ब्रेक होगा.
हाँ,
बट
ठीक
सिंस
है.
आपने एक डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन पूछा था, उसका जो मुझे सबसे डायरेक्ट आंसर है वो ये वाला वर्ष है. साफ लिखा है ब्रह्मणः ही प्रतिष्ठा अहम. ब्रह्मणः वो षष्ठी एक वचन है. ब्रह्मन उसका स्टेम है, प्रातिपदिक. ब्रह्मणः माने ऑफ ब्रह्मन. ब्रह्म की प्रतिष्ठा मैं हूं. एंड ऑफ स्टोरी. ओके,
ओके.
So
वेरी
Anmol bhai,
क्लियर. बोलिए.
question. हाँ. So this experience in terms of consciousness would be the entering into the silent mind, right?
या
Yeah. Just wanted to confirm that. Brahma.
इसी को
Yeah.
गीता के सेकंड चैप्टर के लास्ट वर्स में कहते हैं
Brahmi sthiti.
ब्राह्मी स्थिति.
Ah, okay. Good.
एषा ब्राह्मी स्थितिः पार्थ
Okay.
नैनां प्राप्य विमुह्यति स्थित्वा स्याम अंतकालेपि ब्रह्म निर्वाणम रिच्छति. आई मे से हियर, ताकि कोई ऐसे कंफ्यूजन ना रहे, कि ब्रह्म शब्द को पुरुषोत्तम के सिनोनिम के रूप में बाद में यूज किया गया है. इफ यू सी द तुलसी रामायण, गीता में तो शायद नहीं किया गया, बिकॉज गीता वांटेड टू मेक अ क्लियर डिस्टिंक्शन. बट लूजली व्हेन यू से ब्रह्म, यू मीन द डिवाइन, यू मीन द पुरुषोत्तम. वही ना, इंडिया का जो स्पिरिचुअल थॉट है उसका हिस्ट्री इतना लंबा है, और इतना मतलब क्या बोला जाए, तो एग्जैक्टली कहाँ पे किस शब्द का क्या अर्थ है वो आपको स्क्रिप्चर में देखना पड़ेगा. लाइक जो मैंने, तात राम नहीं नर भूपाला भुवनेश्वर कालहु कर काला ब्रह्म अनामय अज भगवंता व्यापक अजित अनादि अनंत. दिस इज अ फैंटास्टिक, मतलब क्या बोलते हैं, चौपाई बोलते हैं, फ्रॉम द तुलसी रामायण, विच श्री अरबिंदो हैज कॉल्ड द सुप्रीम मास्टरपीस. तो उसमें वो राम को ब्रह्म बोला हुआ है. तो आप क्या करेंगे, लड़ेंगे वहां पे कि नहीं नहीं ये कैसे बोल दिया? नहीं. वो थोड़ा फ्लेक्सिबल रहना होता है माइंड में, कि इस संदर्भ में, इस परिपेक्ष में इस शब्द का अर्थ क्या है. इन द कंटेक्स्ट ऑफ द गीता मैंने यह क्लियरली दिखा दिया है कि वो गीता में पुरुषोत्तम क्या बोल रहे हैं. ब्रह्म की प्रतिष्ठा मैं हूं, ब्रह्मणो ही प्रतिष्ठा हम. क्लियर?
What does this mean, अनमोल? प्रतिष्ठा कि ब्रह्म की प्रतिष्ठा पुरुषोत्तम है?
आई एम द
Can you-
फाउंडेशन ऑफ द साइलेंट ब्रह्मन.
अच्छा.
मतलब विदाउट द पुरुषोत्तम इवन द साइलेंट ब्रह्मन हैज नो बेसिस. बेसिकली दैट साइलेंस जो है, वो साइलेंस भी उस पुरुषोत्तम का एक एट्रीब्यूट है.
So प्रतिष्ठा means foundation.
प्रतिष्ठा मीन्स फाउंडेशन.
Pra means going forth and Tishta means to settle, to situate. So going
यहाँ
forth.
पे आई थिंक, यहाँ पे इसका ब्रेकअप
Going-
प्रोबेबली ऐसे होगा. यहाँ पे
हाँ.
स्था धातु जो है ना,
हाँ.
था, वो स्था जो है वोष्ठा बन गया है, और प्रति यहाँ पे प्रिफिक्स है.
हाँ, तो going forth of that settlement of that or that
वो प्रति को नहीं, धवल भाई एक सेकंड.
हाँ,
आप
हाँ.
प्र जो है वो सेपरेट प्रिफिक्स है, प्रति जो है वो सेपरेट प्रिफिक्स है. ओके.
Oh, okay.
हाँ हाँ हाँ.
अच्छा
तो
अच्छा
प्र
अच्छा.
का मतलब गोइंग फॉरवर्ड होता है, आपने ठीक बोला. लेकिन प्रति का मतलब रिफ्लेक्शन होता है एक तरह से.
हाँ
प्रतिबिंब बोलते हैं ना.
हाँ हाँ हाँ
उस तरह से.
हाँ. अच्छा अच्छा. ओके ओके.
वो
थैंक यू.
डेफिनेटली प्रति में अगर प्र आ रहा है तो वो प्र का जो ओरिजिनल मीनिंग है वो इम्प्लाइड होगा. बट आप समझ गए आई थिंक. यहाँ पे जो
Yeah.
जो मेन वर्ड है, धातु जो है भैया, वो है स्था.
स्था. हाँ,
वो
करेक्ट.
संधि मेंष्ठा बन गया. ठीक है.
स्था means to situate. स्थाणु
स्था मीन्स
वगैरह.
स्टेबल. इंग्लिश का वर्ड स्टेबल वहीं से आता है.
हाँ, स्टेशन. स्था.
स्टेबल, हाँ.
स्थाणु.
स्टेबल, स्टेशन, स्टैटिक, स्टेट, सारा वो स्था स्था स्था.
हाँ, स्थाणु जो गीता में यूज किया है. स्थाणु.
स्थाणु, एग्जैक्टली. स्थाणु. स्थाणु मीन्स इमूवेबल. या we'll go back to the text, otherwise ये दोनों पैराग्राफ आज हो नहीं
This
पाएंगे.
text, just one point. This
बोलिए.
this is saying that I am the foundation even of Brahman, right?
Yeah.
Here he's saying this 18th verse, 20th, 18th chapter, 20th verse. So he's saying that even the foundation of this is actually the Purushottama, right?
Yeah.
So you remember the 8th verse of Isha where he says Kavi Manushi something and
परिभू.
Swayambhu. So is the Swayambhu the same thing as
स्वयंभू इज द
Purushottama?
डिवाइन. स्वयंभू इज द डिवाइन.
So
दैट
it's
इज
the
द
same as
पुरुषोत्तम. वो जो वर्स है योगेश जी, दैट स्टार्ट्स विद द वर्ड सह, सपर्यगात. तो देयर दैट स ना, दैट सिंगल जस्ट कॉन्सोनेंट स, दैट स मींस द पुरुषोत्तम इन दैट वर्स. और बाकी जो हैं वो उसके अलग अलग पॉइजेस हैं. तो उसका एक पॉइज है एज द स्पिरिट, विच इज द कवि. एक poise है as the thinker, which is the manishi. एक poise है as the material, which is the paribhuhu, which is basically called body mind spirit in modern yogic vocabulary. ठीक है, उसमें नहीं जाते. We are not reading Isha. Swayambhu means self-existent.
But all I'm saying is the Swayambhu of that is the same as
It's
the
the Purushottama.
Purushottama.
It's the Purushottama. It's the Purushottama. Welcome. Okay, 849. Yeah, we'll read this paragraph. The first important new element we find is, अच्छा, I must say this here, I'm sorry. इतने references दिए इसमें 18th chapter का 14th का, so it can slightly confuse, but इसीलिए if necessary go over this lecture twice, thrice if necessary. ठीक है, read the text again and again. इससे वो ना settle in होगा अंदर. I almost can't help it because मैंने इतना ज्यादा वो sort of अंदर वो हो गया है इंटरनलाइज कि ऑटोमेटिकली वो रेफरेंस माइंड में आता है आगे के चैप्टर्स का. तो पार्डन मी फॉर एंटिसिपेटिंग सो मच, बट in the long run you will find that it will help to enrich your understanding of the text. Okay, the first important new element we find is in the conception of Purusha itself. Okay, Prakriti conducts her activities for the pleasure of Purusha. But how is that pleasure determined? In the strict Sankhya analysis, it can only be by a passive consent of the silent witness. Passively, the witness consents to the action of the intelligent will and the ego sense. Passively, he consents to the recoil of that will from the ego sense. This is what we had read till last time. He is witness, Sakshi, source of the consent, Anumanta. By reflection, upholder of the work of nature. Reflection mane कि it is the light of that Purusha which is basically lending itself to the movements of Prakriti, जिससे उसके अंदर a semblance of consciousness and gradually more and more consciousness is coming. Okay, Bharta, the English word bear, B-E-A-R, भरण करना, बोलते हैं ना भरण पोषण. तो yeah, sometimes for husband one of the words in Sanskrit is bharta. Okay, so he is witness, source of the consent, by reflection, upholder of the work of nature. Sakshi, Anumanta, Bharta. इंग्लिश में वर्बल फॉर्म में होता अप बियर करना, उसको मतलब उठा के रखना, उसको सपोर्ट करना, लाइक दैट. सो इट कम्स फ्रॉम द सेम रूट ऑफ संस्कृत. रूट इज भ्री, भ के बाद वो री वाला वावल. ओके, भ्री. He is witness, source of the consent, by reflection, upholder of the work of nature, Sakshi, Anumanta, Bharta, but nothing more. ये हुआ सांख्य में. I mean, जिनको याद आ रहा है, they would already be remembering that verse from the 13th chapter. उपद्रष्टानुमंता च भर्ता भोक्ता महेश्वर. वही जो रिमेनिंग वर्ड है वो आने वाले सेंटेंस में आ रहा है. But the Purusha of the Gita is also the Lord of nature. He is Ishwar. वहां पे ईश्वर के आगे मह लगा दिया उस वर्ड्स में. I'll say the words slowly. Very important words from the Gita. Again, मतलब dull memorization that way can make your mind dull. आप कुछ नहीं समझ रहे हैं. But if the verses of the Gita, if they are memorized consciously, if they are internalized, and जिसको बोलते हैं ना by heart, the Krishna, the divine dwelling within the heart, and once they start springing up from the heart, it's a very powerful thing. आपको रोना आ जाएगा अगर गीता की वर्सेस अपने आप स्प्रिंग अप होने लगे. That is why I am saying कि ये worth memorizing है. ठीक है. उपद्रष्टानुमंता च भर्ता भोक्ता महेश्वरः परमात्मेति चाप्युक्तो देहे अस्मिन् पुरुषः परः. पहले हम टेक्स्ट पढ़ेंगे ऐसे इसका, उसके बाद इस पे आएंगे. We'll cover this. ठीक है. But the Purusha of the Gita is also the Lord of nature. He is Ishvara. हाँ, यहाँ पे ये वाला पार्ट कवर हो गया. So Upadrashta, that is the word for witness. वहां साक्षी लिखा था. साक्षी वर्ड गीता में दूसरी जगह आता है. 8th या 9th चैप्टर में आता है. अनुमंता, sanction giver. भरता, अरोरा जी had said last time कि इसका पदच्छेद अगर करके बताएं. यहाँ पे एक एक वर्ड दिया हुआ है, those who can see here, थोड़ा बड़ा करके. उपद्रष्टा, अनुमंता च, भर्ता, भोक्ता, महेश्वरः. मह means great, Maheshwara means the great Lord. परमात्मा इति च अपि उक्तः देहे अस्मिन् पुरुषः परः. Witness, source of the consent, upholder of the work of nature, हर enjoyer, भोक्ता. एक और वर्ड उसमें नहीं था सांख्य में, भोक्ता. ओके. Almighty Lord, महेश्वर, एंड सुप्रीम सेल्फ. तो सेल्फ तो माने हम सब, आई द सेल्फ, मैं, माई सेल्फ बोलते हैं ना. बट द डिवाइन इज नथिंग बट आवर ओन सुप्रीम सेल्फ. वो कोई अलग नहीं है. इट्स अ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट साइकोलॉजिकल पॉइंट टू अंडरस्टैंड. वो द्वैत भक्ति क्या करती है, इस पॉइंट को दबा देती है. बट दिस इज द ग्रेटनेस ऑफ वेदांता एंड अद्वैता, इट एम्फेसाइजेस दिस वननेस. सेल्फ बोलते हैं ना, माई सेल्फ, दैट सुप्रीम सेल्फ एंड दिस सेल्फ इज फंडामेंटली द सेम. My own highest self, my own supreme self is the divine. Divine is not something separate from me that way. And supreme self, please, बाद में, is the supreme soul seated in this body. Right? Once more. उपद्रष्टानुमंता च, भर्ता भोक्ता महेश्वरः, परमात्मेति चाप्युक्तो देहेस्मिन् पुरुषः परः. श्री अरबिंदो ने कहा है लेटर्स ऑन योगा में एक जगह, आई विल पोस्ट इट अगेन, कि द रेपिटेशन ऑफ द जपा ऑफ द वर्सेस ऑफ द गीता, इफ इट इज डन विद द इंटेंशन ऑफ रियलाइजिंग द मीनिंग इन इट, देन इट विल बी रियलाइज्ड बाय द जपा ऑफ द वर्सेस ऑफ द गीता. तो अगर किसी को अपने भीतर वो पुरुषः परः का फीलिंग करना है कि वो मेरे अंदर है, सिंपली अ जपा ऑफ दिस वर्स विल मेक यू हैव द presence of that supreme purusha within you. It's not an ordinary thing. It's a tool for realization being given here. Go back to the text.
So Anmol,
हाँ सरिता.
isn't that verse the Vedantic Sankhya? Because it is showing element of Vedanta and
नहीं. So it is both Vedantic Sankhya as well as Vedantic Yoga. Why? Because the yoga word Ishvara is also there in this word, na? In the form of Maheshwara. Clear?
Yeah.
अच्छा, by the way, ये 13.23 है in the Message of the Gita edition, अनिल बरन रॉय वाला, श्री अरबिंदो आश्रम वाला. गीता प्रेस में 13.22 होता है, बिकॉज द फर्स्ट वर्स ऑफ द 13th चैप्टर. तो कई बार ये 13.23 पे गए, अपनी गीता वाली कॉपी में मिला ही नहीं, तो यार वंडरिंग वर्स कहाँ गया. ऐसा नहीं है. जो गीता प्रेस वगैरह वाला है उसमें ये 13-22 होता है. उसमें द फर्स्ट वर्स इज ओमिटेड. गीता प्रेस इज द मोस्ट कॉमन, दैट्स व्हाई आई एम मेंशनिंग दिस. ओके. He is the Ishvara if the operation of the intelligent will belongs to nature. So 8:58, we had started at around 8:05. We might go on till around 9:10, 9:10, 9:12. If the operation of the intelligent will, that is the buddhi, belongs to nature, the origination कहां से आया है, and power of the will proceed from the conscious soul. इस ओरिजिनेशन के लिए गीता में जो मुझे एक याद रहता है हमेशा, 10.8, उसका फर्स्ट क्वार्टर, अहम सर्वस्य प्रभु, विदाउट एक्सेप्शन. आई एम द ओरिजिन ऑफ एवरीथिंग. प्रभव मीन्स ओरिजिन. वही प्र माने फॉरवर्ड, भव माने बिकमिंग और बीइंग, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट. अहम सर्वस्य प्रभु, I am the origin of everything. If the operation of the intelligent will belongs to nature, the origination and power of the will, my God, what power, proceed from the conscious soul, capital S, meaning the सुप्रीम पुरुष. ही इज द लॉर्ड ऑफ नेचर. वो केवल उसका साक्षी अनुमंता भरता नहीं है, वो उसका लॉर्ड है. लॉर्ड का क्या मतलब होता है? कंट्रोलर. ही हु हैज परफेक्ट, परफेक्ट माने परफेक्ट, परफेक्ट कंट्रोल ओवर द नेचर. ईशा उपनिषद स्टार्ट ही इसी वर्ड से होता है. ईशावास्यम इदम सर्वम. ऑल दिस इज फॉर हैबिटेशन बाय द लॉर्ड. ही इज द लॉर्ड ऑफ नेचर. इस नेचर का एक लॉर्ड है. यही रियलाइजेशन, ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग पहले बुद्धि में और फिर कॉन्शियसनेस के अंदर आ जाना कि भैया एक लॉर्ड है. वो जो सबका मालिक एक बोलते हैं नॉर्मली, इट इज देयर. उसकी लॉर्डशिप ऑब्वियस नहीं होती है तो पता नहीं चलता है नहीं है, छुप जाता है नॉल, बट इट इज देयर.
ये लाइन बहुत की लाइन है इसमें तो बाबा.
बहुत की लाइन. इफ द, बहुत की एग्जैक्ट पूरे पैराग्राफ का इन सेंस देखा जाए सबसे की लाइन यही है, जहां पे वो मर्ज कर रहे हैं, रिकनसाइल कर रहे हैं.
हम्म.
If the operation of the intelligent will belongs to nature, the origination and power of the will proceed from the conscious soul. He is
वाह.
the Lord of nature. वो शक्ति वहां से आ रही है, from that Lord. ठीक है.
So this
If
is
the,
this is differentiating the reflectionary aspect and the true origination.
yes, yes, yes. If the act of intelligence of the will, बहुत धीरे धीरे, एकदम आराम से पी पी के जिसको बोलते हैं ना, बिल्कुल धीरे धीरे. If the act of intelligence of the will is the act of प्रकृति, बुद्धि का जो एक्शन है, ठीक है, इंटेलिजेंस वाला पार्ट, the source and light of the intelligence are actively contributed by the Purusha.
वाह.
He is not only the witness but the Lord and knower. अब इसमें एक और वर्ड आ गया, knower, मास्टर ऑफ नॉलेज एंड विल. चित शक्ति. नॉलेज माने चित कॉन्शियसनेस, विल माने शक्ति. व्हाई आई एम सेइंग दिस, हमेशा व्हेन यू रीड श्री अरबिंदो, ट्राई टू मैप ऑल दीज वर्ड्स टू दैट वंडरफुल फॉर्मूला सत चित शक्ति आनंद, टू ऑर्गेनाइज योर नॉलेज अराउंड दैट वन वर्ड, सत चित शक्ति आनंद.
Anmol bhai, the word conscious soul in the previous line, what does it imply?
पुरुष.
So here, when he says the origination and power of the will proceed from the conscious soul, this is the attribute of Purusha that is being said in this.
The
Vedanta.
origination and power of the will proceed from the conscious soul. हाँ.
So conscious soul here is Purusha.
Yeah. Soul word normally is translated as Purusha. That's why I use that word. But वो अगले में उसमें बोल रहे हैं he is the Lord of nature. तो Lord के लिए the word is not Purusha. For Lord the word is Ishvara. So it's a combination. पुरुषा और जैसे मैंने बताया था ना, जो वर्ड पुरुषा है, पुरुषा वर्ड का शाब्दिक अर्थ ही क्या होता है? पुरीशेते इति पुरुषः. He who sleeps in the city is the Purusha. So the word Purusha has that sense of staticness already implied in it. बट वो स्टैटिक नहीं है, वो लॉर्ड भी है, वो एक्टिव ईश्वर भी है. तो इसीलिए दैट इज व्हाई द गीता यूजेस द वर्ड पुरुषोत्तम. वो बिल्कुल क्लियर करके कि हाईएस्ट पुरुष है, और जिसके अंदर ये सारी चीजें हैं. दिस लॉर्डशिप इज ऑल्सो देयर इन दैट. एंड या ईश्वर है बेसिकली. क्लियर. बट द लॉर्ड एंड नॉलेज, मास्टर ऑफ नॉलेज एंड विल, ज्ञाता ईश्वर. इसमें फैमी से ज्ञाता वर्ड गीता में आता है more than once, but in this kind of context what I could remember is in the 13th chapter, because that is where from the verse has been quoted here, the word is kshetragya, or properly speaking kshetrajna. Kshetra means the body. Kshetrajna means the knower of the body.
Knower of the field.
idam shariram kaunteya kshetramitya vidhiyate etad yo vetti tam prahu kshetragya iti tadvidah. Know this body to be the kshetra. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidhiyate. Understand, fix in your intelligence, abhidhiyate, that idam shariram is the kshetra. ठीक है. idam shariram kaunteya kshetramitra vidhiyate etad yo vetti, इसको जो जानता है, वेत्ति तम प्राहु क्षेत्रज्ञ इति तद्विदः, और फिर वो बोलते हैं कि आई एम द क्षेत्रज्ञ इन ऑल दीज क्षेत्र, सर्व क्षेत्रेषु माम विद्धि, ऐसे करके समथिंग. आई थिंक आई बेटर शो इट बिकॉज टाइम थोड़ा ज्यादा लगेगा, बट इट इज मोर प्रॉपर दैट वे. 1 minute. इट्स इन द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द 13th चैप्टर, वहां कहीं आता है. 1 minute. This is very important, wherein he says that I am the kshetragya in all these kshetras. I am the knower, I am the jnata in all these bodies. 1 second, please. हाँ, 13:3. Oops, 13:2. Yeah. पहले तो ये इदम शरीरम कौन्तेय क्षेत्रमित्यभिधीयते एतद्यो वेत्ति तं प्राहुः क्षेत्रज्ञ इति तद्विदः. The blessed Lord said, this body, O son of Kunti, is called the field. That which takes cognizance of the field is called the knower of the field by the sages. Okay. And when you say this body, it includes all the three bodies, the Sthula, Sukshma, and the Karana Sharir, not just the Sthula Sharir. बिकॉज स्थूल शरीर के अंदर तो ईश्वर की उपस्थिति कैसे होगी? यू कैनॉट कोई होल करके इसके अंदर थोड़ी ना डिवाइन दिखता है, वो तो अंतः शरीर में है. अंतः शरीरे ज्योतिर्मयो ही शुभ्रो, ही इज देयर इन द इनर बॉडी, सेज द मुंडक उपनिषद, राइट? सो व्हेन यू से शरीर हियर, इट शुड बी अंडरस्टूड इट इज द थ्री शरीरास टेकन एज वन शरीर. नेक्स्ट वर्स, यहाँ पे क्षेत्रज्ञम चापि माम विद्धि. माम मतलब मी, नो मी टू बी द क्षेत्रज्ञ. सर्व क्षेत्रेषु भारत, जितने भी ये बॉडीज हैं उसके अंदर ये जानो कि मैं नोअर हूं. आई एम द नोअर इन ऑल दीज बॉडीज. क्षेत्रज्ञम चापिमाम विद्धि. ओ बाप रे बाप, इतना पावर, क्या! उफ, आई एम नॉट एबल टू हैंडल द पावर एक्चुअली. क्षेत्रज्ञम चापिमाम विद्धि सर्व क्षेत्रेषु भारत क्षेत्र क्षेत्रज्ञयोर ज्ञानम यत्त ज्ञानम मतम मम. Understand me as the knower of the field in all fields, O Bharata. Basically, I am the Jnata. I am the knower seated in all these bodies. Clear? We have to replace the word Kshetrajna here with the word Jnata to link it with the essays on the Gita text.
So here when he says I, he's talking again about the Purushottama.
Purushottama, the supreme, the Parapurusha.
It is not the Purush. So all the things that you're emphasizing.
It is the Purusha only. Yogesh bhai, so when you say not the Purusha, आगे जाके वो clarify करेंगे, it is the Purusha in its three poises. तो वो उसका उत्तम poise है, फिर उसका एक अक्षरा poise होता है, फिर उसका एक शरा poise है. Otherwise, the Soham Asmi could never be realized. You see? Understand?
Right.
So the Jiva, you and I are, it's not that we are not the Purushottama. We are the Purushottama, but we are the Purushottama in a human form.
Right. So what he's saying is that it's the three poises. So the second poise that we always talked about, where you, because see, he's distinguishing by saying Purush Uttama. So there is a Purush, but this is the poise of Purush Uttama, right?
Basically the Lord, आप उसको अभी Lord मान के चलो कि जो भगवान है, what is called Shri Bhagavan in the Gita, what is called Lord, what is called Ishvara in the Gita, that Ishvara is saying that I am the knower seated within all of you. तुम्हारे अंदर बैठा हुआ जो ज्ञाता है वो मैं हूं. क्षेत्रज्ञम चापि माम विद्धि, मुझे इन सारे क्षेत्रों में बैठा हुआ क्षेत्रज्ञ जानो. विद्धि. Clear?
So this term Kshetrajna that you are saying, can you tell us what does this term mean?
So Kshetrajna literally means the knower of the kshetra, the knower of the field, है ना? And what is the field is described in the previous verse. ये आगे का है, बहुत anticipation हो रहा है because वो ज्ञाता वर्ड का एक proper reference देना जरूरी था. इदम शरीरम कौन्तेय क्षेत्रम इति अभिधीयते. So ये जो body है, this is the क्षेत्र. But again मैंने उसमें clarify किया कि when you say इदम शरीरम कौन्तेय, right? तो अगर आप इस शरीर के अंदर कहो कि इस शरीर के अंदर आपको एक्सरे करके अगर लॉर्ड दिख जाएंगे फिजिकल बॉडी में, तो वो पॉसिबल नहीं है, बिकॉज ही इज नॉट फिजिकल. इसीलिए उपनिषद क्लियरली कहता है अंतः शरीरे ज्योतिर्मयो ही शुभ्रो, वो अंतः शरीर के अंदर है. गीता में क्या कहता है? ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां हृद्देशे तिष्ठति. बट दैट हृद इज नॉट दिस फिजिकल हार्ट, though the word heart has come from the word hrit of Sanskrit. The hriddesha is an inner dimension within you. मैंने मतलब आप केवल वो श्लोक का रिपीटिशन कीजिए, 18.61 जपा करके देखिए, ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां हृद्देशे अर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्रामयन् सर्वभूतानि यंत्रारूढ़ानि माया. You will do it for 5 or 10 minutes. You will start feeling something in the heart region. वहां पे एक टिकलिंग सा, एक प्रेशर सा, एक काइंड ऑफ जैसे वहां से कुछ इमर्जेंस सा हो रहा है. यू विल स्टार्ट फीलिंग इट, डिपेंडिंग ऑफ कोर्स की प्योरिफिकेशन कितना हो चुका है, बट यू विल स्टार्ट फीलिंग इट. आई मीन, मैं और डिटेल्स में नहीं जाना चाहता, बट इट इज ऑब्वियस.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anmol bhai,
हाँ
in
जी.
the brain of
ऑलरेडी
India,
9:09. You have to keep track of time also. हाँ बोलिए.
in the brain of India, he
Yeah,
uses
yeah, correct.
jnata, the same
Yes,
jnata.
same word, brain of India, Jnata. Wherein he says कि वही, that it is that knower within us who basically facilitates all our understanding. Right? ठीक है, we'll just finish this. कहाँ से शुरू करूँ पढ़ना? I'll read from the most important part and then go till the end. If the operation of the intelligent will belongs to nature, the origination and power of the will proceed from the conscious soul. He is the lord of nature. If the act of intelligence of the will is the act of Prakriti, the source and light of the intelligence are actively contributed by the Purusha. He is not only the witness, but the lord and knower, master of knowledge and will, Jnata Ishvara. Master of knowledge, Jnata, master of will, Ishvara. He is the supreme cause of the action of Prakriti. He is the supreme cause of the action of Prakriti. Supreme cause. The supreme cause of its withdrawal from its action. From action. This is why in that small booklet called The Yoga and Its Objects, Sri Aurobindo says, without the consent of the divine, no soul can leave the game. ये लिखा है ना, the supreme cause of its withdrawal from action. So जब तक उस ईश्वर का, उस लीला पुरुषोत्तम का अनुमति नहीं मिल जाता, you cannot leave the लीला. You cannot, even the Brahma Gyani or the उस तरह का hardcore person who does not believe in the divine, invisibly, unknowingly, the will of the divine is there. The sanction of the divine is there for him to withdraw from the world. Otherwise, it could not have happened. Right? Basically, the ultimate truth is the divine, the Ishvara, the Purushottam. In the Sankhya analysis, Purusha and Prakriti in their dualism are the cause of the cosmos. In the Sankhya analysis, Purusha and Prakriti in their dualism are the cause of the cosmos. In this synthetic Sankhya, which is synthesizing Sankhya with Yoga, okay? Purusha by his Prakriti, वो his वहां पे italics में है, even in the text it is there in italics. तो Sri Aurobindo ने जब इसको publish किया होगा तो वो underlined होगा. That is what it means. In this synthetic Sankhya, Purusha by his Prakriti. गीता में इस रूप में आता है माम प्रकृति, मेरी प्रकृति, या स्वाम प्रकृति, मेरी खुद की प्रकृति, या फिर परा प्रकृति, या फिर मद भावम उस रूप में भी आता है. मद भावम को छोड़ देते हैं, वो थोड़ा लिंक बनाना मुश्किल हो जाएगा, बट बेसिकली माम प्रकृति, माय प्रकृति. इन दिस सिंथेटिक सांख्य, पुरुषा by his prakriti. ये जो जैसे ही वो his word बनाया, the link is built between the word purusha and the word prakriti. क्या incredible है. इसीलिए उस his को वहां पे अंडर, I mean just look at the consciousness with which the book is written. Incredible. In this synthetic sankhya, purusha by his prakriti. The prakriti is his. It's not like the sankhya where there is no connection between the purusha and the prakriti. The prakriti is the purusha's. It is his prakriti. Purusha by his Prakriti is the cause of the cosmos. Once more that sentence of Mother. Without him I exist not. Without me he is unmanifest. To explain her relation with Sri Aurobindo, who they truly are. Without him I exist not. Without me, without the Prakriti, he is unmanifest.
So this his prakriti is this. His prakriti means para prakriti.
Correct. His prakriti means para. That para prakriti further becomes the apara. वो अपरा कहां से आई? That अपरा is nothing but the executrix of the para. उसी को नेचर बोलते हैं simply. Getting it?
नहीं, I didn't understand.
मैं बताता हूँ. I'll just read the last sentence, फिर वापस आता है. It's already 9:14. In this synthetic Sankhya, Purusha by his Prakriti is the cause of the cosmos. We see at once how far we have traveled from the rigid purism of the traditional analysis. Now, I dare say no other writer in 2 paragraphs could have done this in such a succinct and compact way like Sri Aurobindo has done. किस तरह से वो ब्रिज कर दिया है, मतलब एक एक वर्ड, फॉरगेट अबाउट एक एक सेंटेंस, एक एक वर्ड इतना परफेक्टली प्लेस्ड है in these 2 paragraphs which we have read today. Right? So Sarita, when you say his prakriti, yeah, correct. That is the para prakriti. That is one word for it. That is the Gita's word for it. Also called mam prakriti. Mam माने मेरी. ठीक है? हाँ, ममा और प्रकृति माम ऐसे करके वो आता है उसमें, तो माय प्रकृति. But main word, you are right, is para prakriti. In the tantra, this is called shakti in one word. ठीक है? इंग्लिश में इसको बोलते हैं डिवाइन मदर. और जो अपरा प्रकृति है, विच इज द एग्जीक्यूट्रिक्स, विच इज द एग्जीक्यूटिव पावर ऑफ द परा प्रकृति, दैट इज सिंपली कॉल्ड इन इंग्लिश एज नेचर with a capital N. Clear?
So yes, so para prakriti is divine mother.
Para prakriti is divine mother. Exactly.
Okay. Got it.
इसको और अगर जो वेदांत वगैरह से वो करते हैं, मिक्स करते हैं, तो इसको परा माया भी बोलते हैं.
Anmol
Three
bhai,
words ना. हाँ.
in this context, in so far what we read,
Yeah.
we are reading para prakriti into this sentence, but so far in the context of what we have read, it is just
Correct.
synthesizing the
He's just building the link between the Purusha
the
and
two.
the
Correct. He's not right now. ये डेप्थ तो मुझे नहीं आएगा कि इतना डेप्थ में इसको देख सके, बट यू आर
नहीं देख सकते हैं क्योंकि अगर हम बॉटम अप अगर चल रहे हैं, तो जो अपरा प्रकृति थी, जो 24 तत्व वाला था, अव्यक्त वगैरह था, वो अपरा हुई. बट वो अपरा कहां से आई? वो अपरा परा से आई. बट वो परा किसकी है? वो परा उस परमेश्वर की है.
हाँ, पर ये मतलब मेरे को तो इतना नहीं चमका,
वो
इतना
एकदम
नहीं
ऐसे
चमका था.
एनालाइज करके ब्रेकडाउन नहीं किया गया है.
हाँ,
वो लिंक बनाया तो हम बना रहे हैं इस तरह से. बट हाँ, यहाँ पे वो फंडामेंटली जो कर रहे हैं कि सांख्य का जो सबसे बड़ा लूप होल है कि वो पुरुष और प्रकृति को अनकनेक्टेड छोड़ देता है, इन 2 पैराग्राफ्स में उन्होंने वो लिंक बिल्ड कर दी.
वो लिंक एग्जैक्टली. सो व्हेन आई रेड आई फाउंड दैट वे, बट नाउ दैट यू ब्रॉट इन दिस द para,
I would actually request somebody कि before we close the session, just very slowly to read this paragraph as meditatively as possible and then close. This is my humble suggestion.
yeah,
Whoever would like to read,
I can do that, no problem.
you want to do that?
Yeah,
ठीक है, please do it.
From the
first important new element यहाँ से.
Yeah. The first important new element we find is in the conception of Purusha itself. Prakriti conducts her activities for the pleasure of Purusha. But how is that pleasure determined? In the strict Sankhya analysis, it can only be by a passive consent of the silent witness. Passively, the witness consents to the action of the intelligent will and the ego sense. Passively, he consents to the recoil of that will from the ego sense. He is witness, source of consent. By reflection, upholder of the work of nature, Sakshi, Anumanta, Bharta, but nothing more. But the Purusha of the Gita is also the Lord of nature. He is Ishvara. If the operation of the intelligent will belongs to nature, the origination and power of the will proceed from the conscious soul. He is the Lord of nature. If the act of intelligence of will is the act of Prakriti, the source and light of the intelligence are actively contributed by the Purusha. He is not only the witness, but the Lord and the knower, master of knowledge and will. Jnata Ishvara. He is the supreme cause of the action of Prakriti, the supreme cause of its withdrawal from action. In the Sankhya analysis, Purusha and Prakriti, in their dualism, are the cause of the cosmos. In this synthetic Sankhya, Purusha, by his Prakriti, is the cause of the cosmos. We see at once how far we have traveled from the rigid purism of the traditional analysis.